It's a Ken Braverman podcast. It's November 30th, 2022. We're going to answer all the questions I get and hopefully have fun and talk at the same time. That's what we're doing. I'm going through just off memory, and the files that I have open represent college basketball open, and I've got a million things open. I've got Connecticut state tax open. Thank you, Suburban Computer. This company and their website is excellent when it comes to their paycheck calculator whenever you're testing out payroll. So they don't pay me or anything, but go buy whatever they have. Like, look through their stuff. They're really good people, and they have Connecticut state tax. Look at how long Connecticut state tax is. This is why it's 18 formulas, columns of long. Like Connecticut, I'm thinking of driving to Connecticut. Especially if the weather breaks, whatever, before like 18,000 feet of snow comes in, and drive in and just be like, listen, like, what are you doing to accountants of the world that you're making us code all this nonsense just to figure out what Connecticut state tax is? Isn't there an alternate way? Because if anything that I know about people from Connecticut, it's that they only do things their own way and listen to no one. I lived with a nice old lady. She wasn't, I call her, she's passed away now, but I lived with an old lady in Connecticut for a couple of years. When I met my ex-wife, actually, a long time ago. And people in Connecticut, man, they just don't give a rat's to hootin' about anything other than what they want to do. So anyway, that's my story about Connecticut, but that's part of a huge amount of workflow I have. And I want to answer questions. And so, yes, let's back up a second. The most interesting question that I had of the day was from Nancy. And she was like, hey, are you going to add like an 1120 or a corporate form to your personal tax thing? Like, where's the link? Like, I remember this video. Like, I remember you did this thing for taxes. I already done my taxes by that point. And so I wasn't interested in what you had, but I kind of been thinking about it for next year now. Have you done this? And I'm like, no, actually, I haven't done it. And I'm going to do it because we're on a codathon when it comes to payroll and tax until like the Super Bowl, honestly. I mean, it's really going to be, it's going to be from just flat out now. I should start right now. And I am starting right now. I mean, I should start right now and just go nonstop until the end of January so that we get every single federal tax. I'm not going to do every single state tax, but I do have their payroll state taxes done, but I'm not doing every state tax. But every federal thing you need, and your Form 1120, like you said, and 1120S's and everything, we can really do all of them if we want to. But keep in mind, this thing is for simulation purposes. So like what this thing does, this is how to explain this to people who are on a podcast. All right, I'll give you examples, and then I'll also like apologize. I was crabby to a friend today too. If you're listening, I was crabby, just feeling like shit. Just didn't want to get text messages asking me for stuff. Point is I apologize, but the reason why is I was thinking about stuff like this, and what's going on here is this is your taxes. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I'm not going to go through it because it's boring as hell, but you can type stuff in and get simulations and have your stuff ready and have an idea when you are ready to submit. For example, if you filled one of these Excel files out for your taxes, choose your filing status, single, right? If you started doing this, it's not that long, or maybe kind of long depending on how many questions you have to answer, but you can get it done, and you can have this weird simulation done where you just press refresh and you have an idea of what you owe, right? And you can open up everything and see exactly what you said. And it's just like, if you provided this to like, a person at one of those companies that does taxes for you, if you came in with this thing, they're going to laugh and be like, all right, they're going to charge you $350, but then they're going to be like, they're going to have everything answered immediately. It'll take them 5 minutes to do your taxes in most instances. And so it's kind of like, why not just do it yourself and save yourself the $350 is the way I always looked at it. I've always done a version of this for friends and for myself and freaking family and everybody, right? I've done it for everybody. And it's because it's an awesome way of organizing your tax data. And even though it's like not necessarily perfect and exact, and you're going to have some fluctuations in the tax code and maybe some broken formulas and stuff, it's generally really good. And so it's just super helpful for organizing all of your data. So if you can connect all types of business transactional data into this cube, which is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to have, I'm not going to have just form 11, 1120. I'm going to have 1120s, and I'm going to have also like everything you need. Like we were able to get almost the majority of those big set of forms, all these forms that you're seeing right here, right? There's like 60 of them or whatever, right? Big schedules and stuff. Like this is what they look like. They pop right up. This is what the one is, and this is already now set up for 2022. So I can actually verify this because the one we're looking at was for 2021. So I can already do work on this. I don't know if that window popped up for you to see or not, but that's how awesome this thing is. And it updated itself because they essentially realize when the current year is becoming, and they are being, the federal government is at least being aware of payroll providers that want to have answers to questions. So they start putting up the current year's form already because we're in December. They release this, there's going to be a date on it somewhere. Usually put some date on it, like as of some date. Attachment sequence 9. So there's no MB number. Maybe we'll start logging that in here, because this thing will become the master US tax code is what it will become when I'm done with it. Meaning, if you had a question about the tax code and it was integrally related to any other thing related to your filing status and everything, like you could have a profile within this thing if you fill it out throughout the year. It's not hard. Just to show you how not hard this is. Like, just for a second, did you have any virtual currency? Yeah, actually I did a little bit. Looks like I'm up a couple thousand because I'm not in it anymore. Let's move this podcast to cryptocurrency. I don't know if this question is still here. We need to click on whether or not the 2022 1040 is ready. Let's look. Where is it? It would be right here. And nope. See, that one's still 2021. So this one not updated yet. You can see that even the IRS is not updating these in tandem because one, it's only November, and some people that filed extensions are like just now filing the end of this somehow. Gosh, extension people. You extension people are cheaters. I think you should only get to file one extension every 5 years. It used to be something like that. Now people get file extensions every year, and I'm like, no, this is not acceptable. Although they do have a rule that you have to pay. And so if you don't pay what you owe and you file that like recurring extension, I think you should get fined up the boo wah wah. I think it's BS. Because just like, I like that there's a deadline on it. Get it done. Everyone should be able to get their taxes done. It's ridiculous that you shouldn't. It is super easy. You can do it in one file and just answer the questions. I will go through this with everybody. So I was most enthralled by the question about where you're going to add corporate forms to this and when's it going to be ready. And the answer is that is part of Codeathon 2022-23 between, we're going to be doing a lot of work. We're going to be doing work on the payroll file up the wazoo. We're going to drive to Connecticut and figure out, and we're going to ask them why their payroll tax is this long. That's what we're going to do. We're going to have a lot of fun. So I'm going to go code crazy with a very productive project, which is harnessing the current version in the 2022-2023 changeover version. All right. So that's payroll stuff. Timestamp in this video, however many minutes we're into this right now. I'll look it up later. We now move over to college basketball. I'm not doing sports algorithms anymore. I'm so happy I'm not betting. I'm so excited. But I got paid $50 by somebody who wanted a copy, so I did it for him. Thanks, Connor. Here you go. I said he wins all the time with this, and is like, the algorithm's the best thing I've ever seen in my life. I got one complaint on the YouTube channel from somebody who's like, no, his product doesn't work. It's a scam. And I was like, you know what? I was like, if my algorithms don't work here, I was like, good. I don't have to do them anymore because I'm ready to not do them anymore. I'm ready for them not to work, everybody. I'm exhausted with this. I realized that I have a gambling problem, especially when it comes to me like being able to create financial artwork out of the games. I mean, like this is an excuse to do something that's not important, is what this is. As much as it seems like you could make a ton of money when you see something like this, I don't know why you don't or I don't. I'm bad at betting and I don't want to bet anymore because it's not interesting to me and it's a waste of my money and my time. But when people pay me to do it, I'll spend 15 minutes and update a file and send it to them. And that's what we've got right here. So I'm ready to close the door on sports betting, certainly for a long while. So good riddance to that. And I'm glad it's November 30th. And it's still not midnight, so technically I should update that file, but I've had it and I'm good. Podcast people, yes. Let's go and let's do this. This sounds like fun. So I challenged Adam Carolla to a dry time challenge, which is like you pick something about yourself that you don't like, that everyone can agree they don't like, and stop doing it. But you challenge another person to do the same thing. Even though they don't have to be the same thing that you're quitting, but it has to be something important. So I challenged Adam to not drink alcohol for any number of days, like starting anytime. Like, dude, like, can you not go tomorrow? Can you go today without drinking any booze? I know I got to get that question to you like before 6 a.m. to make sure that you hear it when maybe you might not drink. But yeah, is that possible? Like, can is it something you could do? I'm not going to bet. I didn't bet today. I'm enjoying not betting, thinking about a lot of different things other than betting. It's very nice. So I'm wondering if he cannot drink. We have not heard a response yet, and we'll see if we do. Chris Laxamana. He is someone that should be taking more of a role in the show, filling in for Gana, Gunta, whatever you want to call it. And the reports news today, sad. We're horrible people, by the way. All of us in the sub forum, every single one of us, even the people working for the show pretending not to be. We are all horrible people. Let's look in the mirror, people. Look at the black mirror. See what it says. Okay. Reporting the news today, including Howard Stern calling out Oprah Winfrey for showing off her lavish lifestyle. All right. Lionel Messi kicking a jersey. Did he score it all? Did Argentina win? Was there a goal? I was watching a Mexican soccer game at a laundromat. Who do you think they were rooting for? Let's go. Terrell Owens getting in a fight outside a CVS. I'd like to hear about that. He was the man. And Will Smith saying he'll understand if audiences decline to watch his movie. Okay. Author and Fox host Brian Kilmeade. It's okay. Now, Brian Kilmeade, I'll tell you, I mean, he's a guy that'll toe the party line, but sometimes looks like he isn't towing the party line by accident. He's more of a receiver. Brian Kilmeade is definitely a power bottom of information. I'll say that. Talks to Adam about Gavin Newsom's thoughts, oh God, on how, do you remember the time I destroyed Gavin Newsom? You remember the time? There is a visual phrase. Do you remember the time I destroyed, all caps destroyed, Gavin, destroyed. Thoughts on how the GOP defies freedom. By the way, people that are not longtime users of this subforum that are watching this video, I know you have no idea what on earth I'm talking about, but let me explain that these inside jokes are hilarious. Let's keep going. GOP defines freedom. Oppression in China. Yeah. Do they not have vaccines in China? That's what I responded to in this thread. We're going to get down there in a second. Problems with living in California. Oh, God, people, you know what? I'm going to be in California eventually. I don't know when, but I'm going to be there. And you know what I have to complain about being in California? I have to complain that I have to leave. That's the only time I complain. I'm like, I got to go back east. My kids back east. I can't spend all my time not on, I'm like, I got to be on the East Coast. And sure enough, that's my complaint about California. So people that complain about California, keep complaining. Best place in the country to live. That's my opinion. And how America may be slowly returning to sanity, because I'm a environmental nut, meaning I can't, when you have cliffs over the ocean and crazy desert and cheap produce because it's all grown there, the whole California, like that it's unbelievable. And the weather, the ocean, the climate, like there's just, yeah, I know there's a million other reasons not to, but that's why it's awesome. All right, next, slowly returning to sanity. Sure. Okay, Brian. Adam sits down. This is the Switchfoot talk with the band Switchfoot, who everybody's kind of heard of, but has no idea, could not pick them in a lineup, could not pick their song off their ear. It's like, is it Switchfork? Is it Swiftfoot? Like, is it Swiftboat Veterans for Feet? Like, what am I looking at here? So, but the point is to talk to them about their new Christmas album. Mariah Carey is all I want. Can you just name your own Christmas album? Ken's version of Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas is. This is our Christmas album. Okay. Jan Foreman, not one of George Foreman's 13 kids. Tim Foreman, also not one of George Foreman's 13 kids, all named George. I think they're 13. There's 7. It's a bunch of them. 9. It's a lot. It's some odd number that you wouldn't think is possible for George Foreman to pull off. And Chad Butler get into how Black Friday is the antithesis of Thanksgiving, commercialism during the holidays, and what Christmas means to them. Adam and the band break down Joe Jackson's I'm the Man. Wow. I know this whole conversation happened in 1984. And so it was like, what happened? And I don't know. I love a woman that has a nice big butt. This is when Sakic's doing a good job. Thicker thighs, a belly that protrudes out some. Fat rolls are also okay within reason. And a large, big bust. I know somebody who fits this description. Maybe not completely, but she's in this thread. And I don't know who commented, but was it Hopkins? Is this a Hopkins? Is this an authentic Hopkins? We'll find out. All right, let's go. So Locar 500 says, Alyssa Milano, why Jesus, Clemente, and Lennon? They're only 3 guys. Pretty sure she haven't seen her tits. What are you laughing at? I don't even understand this. We're just gonna move on. When Gloria's butt lick sesh between Ace and Kilmeade. Yep. Wasn't that everybody on Fox? People that say things out of left field. All right, so there was Fox. Okay, somebody's showing that Adam is never not a hypocrite, and I love it when he starts ripping soccer and then sucks somebody's dick who likes soccer. Yes, exactly. Yeah, has no permanent views. I agree with you, Al. That's what we want in our podcast, or somebody who's day to day not going to waver from their position because their position is eternally defensible, not because there's no opponent in the room that's properly bringing up a counter narrative that's accurate. I agree with you. It's never not a hypocrite time. Yes, Provigilant. I love this. A man who named himself after Dick Spray. Yes, you are awesome. China currently has 300 million people in lockdown. Yeah. Who's got an accurate number on that, by the way, of how many Chinese people are in lockdown right now? I believe it's how many people are in China, which is close to the entire population of us. You know why? Because they don't have, is this true? Of course they have a vaccine. The Chinese are not that dumb. Although a lot of Asian people I know, especially older ones, said hell no to the vaccine because religion said no or something for some reason. Or they don't have the mRNA vaccine. Oh yeah, that's right. We're not selling it to them. Well, we should give it to them. If they're not, I mean, yeah, and they don't have the technology. I don't know. This is a tough discussion. I mean, Yeah, I'm like, really? Did they not have it? China was supposedly, okay, thank you for answering in this podcast. China was supposedly working on two mRNA vaccines on their own. However, they never came to fruition. Um, and they won't accept a solution. And Xi Jinping continues. Oh man, all right. It's so tough to get accurate information from another country, but we do know that their reaction to COVID is lockdown central. And it's funny because we kind of had, I believe, super soft lockdowns in the United States, obviously, because we're a nation of guns, we're a nation of nutty people. And so it's like, if you're like, I can't freaking go to the 7-Eleven and get myself a beer, like, I don't freaking want to live. Like that's the way it is here in the US. So there's not the same kind of lockdown potential that they do in China. China, it's like you saw those people in white suits and guns, shutting doors and patrolling the streets and like drones spraying bleach on cities. I get it. I get how China's different. So they're choosing not to go the mRNA route, and it's making them more susceptible. That's a debatable question. I don't know if that's happening. Um, so there's a lot to unpack there about COVID policy. I will say they got it. I mean, they're eventually going to get mRNA technology. Like this is repeatable technology that while it has a patent, it also has a logical construction to it that as you as you master that, like you master CRISPR, the whatever the clustered regulated interspaced palindromic repeats, I believe it is. CRISPR, the way that they grab certain strings of RNA or DNA, I think, and replace them with whatever they want, the way they can program it in a back way of doing it using a bacteriophage or something that does the process already or whatever. We're simulating some existing biological process that does DNA or RNA editing. Anyway, as we went down that road, so that technology is going to become global standard because we're all humans, we all spread disease. So I don't care if somebody who at one point is locked down in China eventually comes to the United States, and I see that person at a tech conference and have a lunch, and that person could have COVID or not never have COVID. And if the mRNA vaccine is the best way to do it, I got it. I haven't gotten it actually. I haven't got a booster or whatever, but I probably should. And if one of the reasons I'm not completely better yet from being sick since Thanksgiving is because maybe I don't want to say the C word, but what if I had it? I haven't been vaccinated in like a year and a half or whatever, how long it is, a year at least. So I probably should get a booster, and it's awesome. And so everybody in the world's eventually going to get access to it. Let's keep going. Um, all right. Well, we'll see if they are not getting mRNA vaccines forever because they are obviously global necessity, and it's going to become a bioengineering sector that I think is commonplace because it's not like new viruses are not going to be continually permeating the space. Um, what else? BoJack Billy. God bless Adam has really gone off the deep fucking end. You'd think this dude called every shot on COVID all the way. He preaches how right he was. Everyone else is wrong. He thinks the sunlight and vitamin D are the best cures for it. First of all, vitamin D is good coming from the sunlight, getting out because it supposedly is a catalyst for a bunch of enzymatic changes in your blood. So getting exposed to the UVB rays are going to actually strengthen your endothelial blood cells and resist some of the direct problems caused by COVID, which is lack of angiotensin synthesis in the blood because the angiotensin receptor is the one that's getting blocked and clogged up and is used for replication from the virus. So the reason why sunlight and vitamin D are two things at once, they are both a really, really helpful part to warding off more permanent impacts of getting infected by the virus and long lasting impacts, but they are also the nectar of the tards, as Adam would say, to people that do not think that vaccines are important, because vaccines are 100% a different way of defense than this. This is something we can all hopefully moderate, except not in this time of the year when you don't get as much sunlight because you're not at the proper angle angle of longitude, I guess, right? Um, or latitude. No, latitude's the one. Yeah, you got to be at like latitude more toward the equator than than you are in most of the United States, especially like Canada. Like nobody in Canada is getting enough vitamin D from the sun because of how far the sun is away angled wise, right? So I shouldn't say far away, but or the angle with which it hits you is always not a more direct angle, so you don't get enough throughout the day. All right. So vitamin D is both. Oh, zinc. No, zinc. That was about trying to stop cell replication briefly to prevent it, which is not was not helping. Hydrochloroquine and zinc turned out to not be a direct route of anything that was going to be productive when it comes to this virus, it looks like. Um, what else? Well, yeah, some Christian band and Fox News. I mean, I do you want to hang out with Christian bands and Fox News? Like, is that who you want to hang out with? And if they're paying the bills, well, if they're paying the bills, then I don't know. What does that even mean? I think that's where we've lost is how can we get Adam to make money without pandering to and I'm not gonna bash Christian rock, by the way. Some of the best music I've heard is when I'm like driving through like Idaho Falls, I think it was. They had the best like Christian rock. Is freaking awesome. It's like songs you think you've heard before, but they're like peppier and better, and somebody else is singing them, and the words are different, and all the language is hardly ever bad, and it tries to be kind of existential. It's fine. Christian rock's pretty good. I can see how people come from a small town where they don't have Christian rock, which is most small towns in a weird way do have Christian rock, but especially up in like Idaho and Oregon and like up in that area, especially Idaho, and it's and probably Wyoming a little bit too, kind of. But I would say it's not bad. It really isn't. So whatever, maybe their Christmas album is good. I don't know, guys. That's the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Just messing around. Just about to go do 1,000,000 hours of tax work. Right? We're doing Connecticut. That's what we're doing. We're doing Connecticut. And we're starting to expand on everything because one person shouldn't like, did you see how long that was? Like, why? I would rather drive to Connecticut and complain and be like, you can't give me a formula, just a formula. You have to do this. Like, what is this? That's why I'm actually saying, like, I don't want to do this. I think this is a waste of my life to have to make small amounts because I've already done this. I mean, I condensed it, but this is a waste of time because, like, why did you do this? Like, what is this retarded tax question? Why are there 15 different letters? Why are you cutting stuff off at 24 and $100,000? Can't you just ask people questions so that they can figure out their freaking taxes? Like, what is this? And I'm just going to be like, all right, so you're ranging between 3 and 7. All right, then I'm just going to say, all right, well, we're going to charge between 3 and 7% based on whatever structure I formulate in the file. I'm not doing this. This is an embarrassment to math. Somebody is like intentionally trying to make it difficult on financial providers so that they have to like contract with the state or something to be a provider or something. This screams of corruption. What is this? What is this? None of the other states look like this. The Oregon's kind of retarded also, but this one, I mean, Oregon's got like a million things going on, but and so does Washington State. So Pacific Northwest, you're not getting off the hook when it comes to taxes either. But like Connecticut, what the WTF? I am boycotting this structure. I'm calling this too stupid to program. So here's what we're doing. I've never done this before, but we have to take a stand in life, people. This is my way of revolting against what is ridiculous bureaucracy in government. Here's Connecticut taken up way too goddamn much of this file right here because of all those exemptions, right? Taking up what felt like 19 columns. I am refusing to allow that to be. So I'm saying that the way that Connecticut does things currently, which is this, is unacceptably cumbersome on the human being to figure out what to do with this. Because this is a great company, Suburban Computer, that put this together. And you cannot scroll until you're like, what am I looking at? Like, why is this? Why? Why, Connecticut? So we're vetoing it and we're saying, I refuse to code this exactly correct according to their law. And I'm going to dumb it down to what apparently is something like this. See this? Apparently it's between 3 and 7% percentages. Apparently at different rates. So we're going to condense it to just that, meaning we're still going to ask the same questions in the payroll file because I'm going to simulate it as best as possible, but it's not going to match the code. And you're going to say, if Connecticut asks you why you withheld this amount, you're going to say, Ken decided that this tax structure is retarded and would not follow this many ridiculous formulas. And that an estimate between these percentages is as reliable, probably will be less than 1% off, and is acceptable because this is too burdensome on the programmer. That's what you can tell them. And I will face the lawsuit from them if they would like to file one. And I will sit in front of a jury and I'll say, hey, jury, let's try to program this together. I'm the smartest programmer in the world. Let's try to program this and explain why a human being who's trying to run their taxes in Connecticut cannot do this in less than 38 hours of programming, staring at it, trying to figure out why they're all connected and why there are so many exemption tables for different statuses. Okay. Let's do that and then we'll win. And the jury will be like, yeah, he's right. That was like, why did Connecticut do that? Like, why didn't Connecticut just make it between 7 and 3%? Like it says right here. Why didn't they just do that? And the answer is, I'm going to do it for them. So the payroll file is taking on a whole new animal this year of not being dumb. Yep. And people that join in on this payroll file are going to have to accept that it's not going to exactly match the legislation on ridiculously cumbersome and burdensome programming as Connecticut. So what that means is that, we're going to annualize. That's it. We're going to annualize and then we're going to do rate. So I'll figure out how to remove that. I'm glad I kept the podcast going because I was really getting annoyed. I was like, what am I going to do with this freaking state? And I'm going to do that. I'm going to say not perfect because that's why this is so difficult to do. The payroll file is like so incredible. Is that, having something running and functional, compliant with every state's ridiculous laws is actually really, really tough. A lot of what I do is simply try to turn the truths of the world into logical number flows and store them, right? So I'm trying to store the current version of the tax code and all the questions and how they're related at a point in time, right? So as you're doing that, payroll, this stuff, I mean, there are no deadlines. It's weird. It's like legislation changes in the middle of the year, things that you didn't know were going to get affected, all of a sudden get affected and have different attributes in not only the federal government but the state. The point is being reactive and dynamically updating this thing as new laws are passed is something that this file is so built to do, right? And I want to shrink it down and I want to get rid of a lot of Connecticut. I'm willing to give Connecticut only the number of withholding codes that they have. I want to give them only that number of columns in this file, which is this: A, B, C, D, and F, of course, because why would you put E in there in order, you fools? Right? We're going to only give them that, and we're going to annualize them, and then we're getting rid of everything else. all the except Connecticut tax withheld. Delete. And we're going to shrink them down to at least less than this. All this stuff's going to go. Like I've had enough of this. So in order to do that, we're going to just quickly estimate exemption percentages, and we're going to round to percentages. So my Connecticut ain't going to be perfect, but that's because they need to change. All right. That's my podcast for the day, guys. Good luck. Enjoy. I hope all your podcasts were listenable. I have not wagered today, and I hope Adam Carolla has slowed down on the booze for the day, but only time will tell.